Hey guys, welcome to Lovecast the Podcast Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the Thai series Until We Meet Again. I'm your host Alexa, and with me are my co-hosts Pixie and Kayla.
Hey.
Yo.
So, before we jump into it, I just wanted to make a little note that today's series review was voted on by our Patreons. So, if you guys are interested in being able to vote on what shows we might review in the future, you should consider joining our Patreon membership. Memberships start at $2, I believe. So yeah, if you want to vote on what we do in the future, that's the place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And to go into the review, we're going to start with a brief synopsis of Until We Meet Again. So Until We Meet Again is the story of Dean and Parm. They are two university students who come into each other's lives, and as they come into each other's lives, they realize that they are also connected by their past lives. Their two past selves, Corn and In Touch, were also romantically involved in their university days. And while Corn and In Touch's story ended tragically, Dean and Parm want to be sure to make sure their story has a happy ending. And the series is all about them navigating being connected in their past and how that impacts their current relationship and all those types of things. So the series is available for free on YouTube on the Wabi Sabi YouTube channel. And it is also available on Line TV for free with subtitles. So you can watch it either of those two places.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are our general spoiler free thoughts on Until We Meet Again? I think we're all pretty big fans of the show.
Yeah. I don't even know where to begin. Like, the show is so beautiful and also so tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's very metaphysical and like has a lot of spiritual themes. And so I'm really into that whole past lives thing and tying the red string around each other's pinky so that like you're
Mm-hmm.
connected. I really like the folklore, I guess, and the culture
Mm-hmm.
behind that origin story. So I think that's what reeled me into it in the first place, is just this idea of soulmates
Mm-hmm.
that I really like about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, it's been a really long time since I watched it. So so I'm going off this of how what I remember and how I felt when I watched it because I remember very clearly what I felt.
Mm.
And I remember that when I watched the first episode, I had to stop. And
Yeah.
I and I put it to the side and I couldn't like it came so suddenly that I couldn't like process it. So I had to stop, put it at the side, and then I went back to it a week later and watched it
I
through
did the
the whole
same
thing.
thing.
Mhm.
The same exact thing.
Yeah, and I'm really glad I did because like okay, it is really shocking
Mm.
and really it comes very in your face. You don't
Yeah.
expect it, especially not from a BL.
Mm.
But it's so worth it to just watch the whole thing because the story is so cohesive and
Mm.
just good, and it was the first BL that actually made me cry as well.
Mm.
So I mean, I very vividly remember the grandma.
Yeah.
Without going into spoilers right now, I very vividly remember her, and I was bawling. I was crying my eyes out. She was so good. So yeah.
Yeah, I think they just did a spectacular job with all of the different elements of it. I mean, I went into the show, I wouldn't say with no expectations, but I'd watched Love by Chance and I really liked New as a director, so like I was hoping I would be a fan of it, but I wasn't particularly in it for the plot itself. I was more watching it because I'd liked New's past show and I wanted to support him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the same thing in the first episode. Like, I don't think anyone would have ever expected that in the first 10 minutes of the series. And I'm sure most people know what we're talking about, even if you haven't seen it, because it's a pretty
Mm.
famous scene. But just for spoiler's sake, I'm not going to go into specifics. But
Mm.
I still watched it all in one sitting, but I definitely like took like a solid like 20-minute break before I started part two and just like sat there and processed what I just watched, and I was like, so this is gonna be like one of those shows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much a fan of like, I don't know if like emotional shows is the right word. I really like watching like melodramas and stuff like that and K-dramas. Sounds kind of like morbid, but I like to cry when I'm like watching
Mm.
dramas and stuff like that. I kind of talked about in the Perth episode, but I cry really easily. So I guess it's just kind of like cathartic for me to watch shows like that. So
Mm.
like I definitely cried a lot and I loved it in a weird way. Like I just love shows that make me feel very strong emotions, and this is a show that made me feel like every emotion I felt about everything that happened, whether it was something happy or sad, it was very strong, and I felt very connected to the characters that they created, and
Yeah.
Dean and Parm specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the dynamic between the couple, Dean and Parm, and
Mm,
also
Mm.
Corn and In Touch. I just think they have a really interesting, because it's like they already know each other in a way. And
right,
so
Mm.
their relationship is starts off a lot more developed than it would maybe like another couple in a different show,
right.
Mm.
Where
because
you
they
have
have a
that
history.
emotional connection that they don't need to grow that connection. It's like there.
Mm.
Yeah, I really liked that about them too. And just, I love Dean. He's probably
I
one of
love
my
him
favorite
too.
like characters ever. Like I've said before that I could probably write a dissertation about how he's the best boyfriend
He
in
really
any
is.
show ever. But yeah, everyone in the cast is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Like I was blown away by everyone.
Yeah. I'm biased towards Bowen. Like, I just love that man, and he has tattoos in the show and just ear piercings and blonde hair and ponytails and or a man bun, and it's perfect. It
Everything
hit
that
all
gets you.
my right spots. So I I really like how the characters interact with each other.
Mm,
I like the like that they are sort of, well, they aren't always polite to each other, if
Hmm.
you know what I mean. Like they have like this whole friendship, sarcastic,
yeah.
teasing thing going on, and yeah, it's funny. And I think like Baun and Prem, Team and Win, their relationship is, while Team is teasing Win a lot, or the other way around, sorry, it doesn't feel like it's mean spirited, you know?
Yeah, I know what
Hmm.
you mean.
Mm.
It's like some shows will have like the relationship starts in that kind of like almost like one of them is a bully of the other and then like they fall in love, but like
Mm.
Team or Win was always teasing Team from like a good place. Like he was never trying to be cruel to him, and you could tell that he was like lighthearted in it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
never felt like bullying, right? It
Yeah.
it was just teasing.
Yeah, they had a fun dynamic, and
They
I'll
did.
be excited to see more of it in their
I'm
series.
so excited for Between Us.
All right, well, before we jump into more detailed review, I think we all know what all of our ratings on this are going to be, but let's just say for the sake of the review, mine
Yeah.
is obviously a 5, must watch. It's one of my all-time favorite BL series. I will recommend it to anyone if someone's looking for like the first BL. I mean, it's a little bit heavy for like a first BL, but I
Mm.
think it's so beautifully done that I still recommend it to people. Like I
Same.
would literally recommend the show to anyone and everyone.
Yeah. Same. It's 5. I've recommended it to everyone I know. Not everyone has watched it because they don't like watching stuff that's not English or
Mm,
Norwegian, but it's like the first show that pops into my head if someone asks me for like a recommendation or anything. I truly love it. Mm.
Yeah, can I give it like a 20? Because I'm very biased, but I love this show a lot. And I
Mhm.
think that it was done very well. The directing, the writing, just the way it was adapted into live action series. It's
Yeah.
very touching and I like it a lot. So a 5 or a 20.
So that's going to be our spoiler-free portion of the review. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to drop a comment below letting us know what you think of the series, what you would rate it on your own scale. And if you're interested in seeing the full review, like I said earlier, you can find it over on our Patreon at the Lovecast tier and above.